what I like to do is to walk you through my own story of the work I've been doing on conscientious objectors for rather a long time now. It began, I suppose, in an offhand way when I was working on something else in the late 1960s. In fact, in 1967, just let that sink in, I met this chap. All these people are from my part of the world, which is Huddersfield. You may have gathered from the accent. And that's really the subject of the book I wrote some years ago, which is still in print and very good value. But this is the chap I met in 1967. I met him and the other people on this picture because I was researching the labour movement in the West Riding textile area. And I was told, well, you better go and talk to Wilf. So I went to talk to Wilf. And this is a man called Wilfred Whiteley. Very interesting man, Wilf. He'd retired by the time I caught up with him, and he died shortly afterwards. There's no causal link there. He'd been active in the Independent Labour Party before the First World War, active as a Baptist Sunday school teacher, temperance advocate, very much on what you might call the come to Jesus end of British socialism prior to the First World War. He'd come into the Labour Party, from the Independent Labour Party that is, by the fact that his sister's boyfriend, who eventually became Wilf's brother-in-law, his sister's boyfriend was already a member of the socialist movement in Huddersfield and district, and when he was courting and coming to the house to pick up Wilf's sister to take her out, he brought with him a copy of Robert Blatchford's Clarion. Now, it seems a very dedicated sort of socialist to take a Clarion with you when you're going courting, but there we are. Wilf found it, was converted, became very active in the labour movement before the First World War. His first experience, if you like, of the movement was at Victor Grayson's by-election in the Colne Valley in 1907. So he came with a very interesting pedigree, and we talked about his life and times in the labour movement. He became a labour organiser, was actually headhunted by, would you believe, Sir Oswald Mosley in the 1920s as his election agent in Ladywood in Birmingham. And when Oswald Mosley went off to win a by-election in Smethwick, Mosley then, of course, rising star of the labour movement, Wilf was adopted as prospective parliamentary candidate for Ladywood and was eventually elected MP for Ladywood, Clare Short's old seat, in 1929. Returned to Yorkshire in the 1930s, and he was still living there when I met him in 67. And of course, scoping that whole life story, we got to the First World War at one point. And he said, oh, by the way, when we got to the First World War, he said, I was a conscientious objector. I said, oh, how was that? He said, well, he took the ethical view that the war was wrong and he shouldn't be part of it and so on. But he said it never came to the crunch with me because he was regarded, because he was in the food business, working for a food wholesaler, because he was in that business and because his employer constantly applied to the local tribunal for his exemption, it never came to the crunch with him. So he was given regular, repeated 6-month exemption from combatant service on grounds of this war essential nature of his work. But he said there were a lot of people like me in Huddersfield, a significant number, so much so he said that Huddersfield was special. Special because of the number of COs, special because of the extent to which we continued our campaigning throughout the war right to the very end. This notion of Huddersfield being special, of course, was very appealing to me as a Huddersfield lad, but it stuck at the back of my mind and said, well, okay, was it?